Such a drama queen inside. It feels so good to feel other people's nerves. It always happens to me, so I love it.
I've never been so nervous, Ganj.
How?
Don't be.
See, come on, out of all people.
Remember that day when you video called with Papa Ram?
Gosh.
Okay.
Okay.
We're ready. We're ready.
Please be yourself. Yep.
Is this thing continuously recording?
But this is recording.
Okay. Okay, I need to edit it. It's my first time now.
You know, sometimes as using the editing them, so you just talk to us.
So when
Tell
we
us
start,
why we are
Let's
here.
just talk. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Siyaphila ninjani?
Siyaphila nathi.
I would like to welcome all of you guys to our space. We call it our space, Mina Nobusi, Siwe Matundra, who is my childhood friend, but she also stole my friend, by the way. I'll get into details about that. So, because as you all know, there's a stigma about each generation, we are 80s, which we are a sad generation with happy pictures. We mentally we are going through a lot of things. So while we were conversing, Mina Nobusi, we decided that let's just have a platform where we will have us individuals, and we will have these conversations as uncomfortable for others, and give those who want to express themselves about the current mental illness we all going through. So since it's May and it's a mental awareness month, so we decided that it's time for us.
We need to speak up about the issues that we
speak up
go
about
through.
it,
and create a safe space to say it's okay to go through something. My thing a lot is we are told that as women we need to be strong. But what if I don't want to be strong, So I just feel that we go through a lot as humans, and I think this idea, we gave birth to it because of conversations that we have every day, and the struggles we go through, from making sure that the kids are bathed, from making sure that homework is done, and trying to push a side hustle, and trying to push a 9 to 5, and trying to also have a social life, and the finances as well. Then there's all aspects of how do you go through the day without breaking down. How do you know when you are breaking down? How do you know when to start seeking for help? And who do you actually also talk to? Because conversations that we have, I think we just richa from the cream. We just tell me, how are you? All right? Oh, okay, sharp. So it's never about the deeper conversations, the uncomfortable conversations. So I think the space, we gave birth to the space so that we can create that safe space to say, it's okay. Let's have a conversation, especially amongst us as women, to say, I'm doing those uncomfortable truths, and maybe you are helping someone else that is going through the same thing. So yeah, we have this gorgeous space because of this phenomenal woman on my right, Matawo. So we are centered to go G-Spot, Zone 6, Diepkloof. So we've gotten this gorgeous space so that we can be able to have conversations, to create dialogues, and to say it's okay, let's use a safe space. And she will guide us also on sexual tips, anything that has to do with the pros and the cons, but everything exciting, because after all we need to still live, we still need to be happy. So while we're dealing with all the other issues, how do you make yourself to be okay? Do you need that stimulator just before you get out
of Thank you so much, guys, for actually landing this topic and conversation. It is much needed.
Yes.
And the Moto G-Spot, yes, we are an adult store, but above that, we are very open to these types of discussions. So to let us handle in a safe and contained space.
where we can share, especially as you said, we hardly ever get to the depth of issues. We're always operating on the surface level. So I hope today, with just us being here, we'll be able to open up conversations that will reach far and wide audiences, and that they can actually touch whoever the message is actually intended. Not only do we have Usisi Mataba, we also have Phumzile, but we're going to explain that later.
Phumzile Dlamini. That's Phumzile Dlamini.
Phumzile Dlamini, who is also one of our guests, and yeah,
she goes, yeah.
We're gonna talk.
Yeah, we're gonna talk.
I think if you want to touch on anything in Sambe as an opening, I don't know how we're going to start the conversations. Maybe you can start us into a conversation and then we can piggyback from that and then.
Okay. No, thank you so much. I think it's like I put my status on this morning to say it's a privilege, to be known for something. So I have a channel called Conversations with the Phumzile. So I think what you're doing here stems from that. I love conversations, I love talking, because when you talk about everything that's going on in your life, actually it does help sometimes, because when you share your story, somebody else's story, it gets you thinking, but okay, I'm not on my own. So now in Conversations with Phumzile, I think it started with my own issues, my own personal issues. I was judged for so many things, when you are out there, when you have the character, we are papa. But papa wako is because you are just a happy being. Sure. But then you start being seen, so you start being seen as somebody who, or somebody who is forward, or somebody who, because you do almost everything else outside of the class. So I left home, when I was young, because I was angry. And I love being in the space. Why here? When you chose it, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to like the space. It has everything to do with most things that I've gone through, So mental health, sexual liberation, it's been part of my journey. So maybe just to help give where it started. So I was getting raped, and my parents didn't know how to do me first born me. So they didn't know how to deal with that. But actually, I thought they knew what happened to me. They sent me to boarding school at that time because they thinking someday I will groom one. All that. But everything else spiraled from there. So I felt like guys will see me as a sexual being. So I would attract the same thing. So it hit me hard generally as an individual from Omuntu Opapai. So much was happening inside. So much. Then I moved from one school to the other, running away from what happens to me. I move. What happens to me, I move. Until I finished matric, and I had all issues of sexuality where I don't even know how to identify myself as a woman. I went to Ipono School Yamanto Bazar. And that's where my first encounter in terms of feeling comfortable about my body, for one. Then I didn't know whether I'm a lesbian but it was an environment. But I found peace, or I found comfort in that space.
It was a safe space.
Then I met my husband. Then I met this guy who didn't see me as an object for the first time. Then I got to understand, by the way, I'm female, I'm a woman. And then the journey continued. But you carry that thing your whole life. Then that's where my mental issues started there. Because when I was married, like as soon as we had a baby, I held on to him for dear life because he was one good man. I held on. Not knowing whether I wanted to be married, not knowing, I didn't even care about what to be after.
He saw you in a different version of...
I held on, from there. But then marriage fails. You are a professional at work, at the PR, or you are now this person, you are on high, but you don't know what's happening behind and inside. Then everything went. I didn't know depression then. I didn't know mental health then. But when you can't wake up in the morning, you feel like, I started sabotaging everything. Didn't go to work. I would get up and bath. And just high heel everything with my jacket and go back to bed. But I didn't know what I was going through something until somebody says, go see a doctor. Then I was on medication, but lucky I've never been especially, you know. But I took medication, but that never left me because I never dealt with what was
the
issues. Feeling like
they just took you and sent you there. And I didn't know.
You know, so you go through so much without knowing. I think other people don't even know how to identify a mental health or an emotional
And
health.
another thing, essence ukuthi catch up in it's so hectic, and it's because I'm not saying that our parents are not equipped, but I think it's the way how they were brought up. Other things we don't talk about them, we suppress them. Even when they catch up with us, you suppress them. You must go out there and smile and say, I have to go to work.
It's the different mask that we always have to put
every
on.
day. You are with your mom, you can't, okay, this is this, because there's no boundaries in the family. Oh mama, you cannot do a boundary for mama. So we know that mama, as you say, the personal experience, you can't go back to your mama and say, yes, I still feel as if I'm not good enough. Since the incident, you can't. They don't have an open floor for us to express ourselves. They have this thing with life goes on. Yes,
and how do you
they don't have the language, guys. They sometimes need to be able to say, well, this is what is bothering me. They don't know. We know on a surface level, but they can't say, well, today my child is feeling down because they might be having a mental challenge, a setback or a challenge. They don't know how to identify. Remember when they're also coming from triple whammy, guys. Remember, structurally, our society is not equipped to deal with feelings. We're operating on survival, having to deal with colonialism, apartheid, patriarchy, and all of these things. So it becomes a bit difficult for them to say, well, okay, we actually have got feelings. We're not feeling orientated. We're very survival. Practical task mode. We need to make sure that today we're not the papa and something. If we're not the Alex papa, for what? What is that?
And how do you
what is Alex? They don't understand what is Alex. Like now, if you can go to your mom, like my mom, the first time when I spoke to the doctor and we sat and we had a conversation, which you are depressed, I came back. I said, I'm depressed. I just want to die, honestly. What to depressed? Depressed in Johnny because of telling me about my responsibility. You did not relate to anything.
Like you said, the language.
Please. And then after what's gonna happen? 3 days into I'll call you.
It's fine.
How long does it take for
you to get better? Do you understand?
I think the parents and the language and how we,
coping mechanism.
It reminds me of the story where Nama never used to. I would be sick, but I never told my parents if I was sick, like eczema, asthmatic, but all the time I know that. Eczema, then my mom would say, so you start not knowing how to tell your parents that you are sick. But I think the opportunity is now your mind. It's this platform because we have kids, we've grown. It means we can actually change the narrative because yes, you touched survival. That's all they knew. And Abazali then was wake up, go, sebenza, come back, and hold on to being black. Hold on to being strong. Hold on. That's all they knew, which is all good and fair because they brought us up to become very. We're still strong. We still hold on to that. So we have another element, but we now have the young generation, which they're so exposed to everything. Where picture perfect, beauty, and all that filters. But on the inside, nobody. We were talking before we started about the pictures. Are we taking a picture? Are we just gonna have pictures, not the conversation? And I was saying the conversations are important because the Instagram, Twitter, Facebook Live is you see me beautiful, but you don't know my story. You don't know what's going on. So that's why it's important for us to talk it out. Talk it out, how it affects you at work, how it affects you at home. You know, because it changes you, how it affects you as a mother, yourself, not necessarily only you as a daughter or as a child,
or
yourself.
just in your own being. That's what you as a sexual being. All of these things have got an impact.
True. And all around.
Because there's something that you mentioned. You said you woke up the other day, UTM 17, because you're a PR, you dressed up and you were showing up in all these events. People, you're happy. No one knows what is going on. So you can be happy and still be depressed.
True.
You can make jokes and laugh.
True.
And still have this war going on at the back of your head and say, and people don't know. You go back home, you're all alone. And these things, all these emotions, they catch up with you. And you have no one to reach out to. Hello again. I said this so thing. No one is giving you an opportunity to express yourself. We are just being busy about nothing. We are not looking after our mental health up until you go
has a breakdown. I was also actually going to touch on that as to how do you realize or how do you go to a point where you're saying, you know what, I need to ML and go see a doctor, or I need to see someone. Because I think another thing is when you start going to therapy, people think you cuckoos, you know? So I think the stigma is the biggest problem, because that's where people basaba corner. So people are not being open about themselves. You know, like with me, I'm always a happy soul, you know? So one day I'd be on I don't feel like doing this today. Like, can I just huddle in my corner and be like a church mouse? And people are like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. I just don't feel like being loud. And they'll actually start thinking there's a problem. You know, so they push it to a sense, no, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing is wrong. I'm just trying to keep to myself because I can be quiet, guys. Like,
I am recharging. Tell them I am recharging.
Can I just try and sense, like, hey. So I think people are always expecting things from us or as like individuals, but when it turns,
but you know, there's something very funny actually about our system, our society. Remember, as black people, we grew up with this thing of communal living. Where actually there were platforms where people got together and actually spoke. They tried to deal with issues as a collective. I'm not sure if parts of what we are seeing now is as a result of those structures having been broken, or what it could really.
Very true, because I'm a society before where you are a young women society. That's where like having tea in tea party. Yes, in the society, but I think they changed. You are very right, because that's where that was
the therapy.
That was the therapy, and my advisors would no, this is what I do. You know, like I remember when I did pure romance. So when we have those one-on-one and all that. The first step will be, okay, now when I want to be myself, I am quiet and this, I don't know how to be like, you know, free with my body. But everybody was like, let me tell you, this is what you do. When you go home, actually that helps you. But you brought into your therapy, it is important, but sometimes they are expensive.
True,
and people don't know. Yes, people don't know that there are free services out there. So, and I think like your answers, they need to be very active and
healthy.
But how do you know? Who do you tell? You know, so
how do we engage with them to actually bring them as a part of this journey? We're having conversations. We're trying to get as many people talking so that people don't feel left out in spaces. Okay, there's a whole community. Share your story, you know? I think there's also this lady, the funny chef. She does that all the time. So she'll have different conversations and people will come and be anonymous. But people pour their hearts out. It is important, guys.
But it needs to be contained as well.
True.
So I mean, if you're just pouring and there's no one that's actually
give you better to say
containing you. Because remember, emotions is raw emotions that you're just putting out there.
Yeah.
So like you said it, and then what? Remember that person is still going. Go there, corner, they are away from you. So what happens after you get back in the environment? So there's a statement that is needed. Or it's fair, it's very fair and all that we are just going out there. But remember, we all go into individual spaces afterwards, right? And then
how do you practice the conversation?
You're right. Actually, therapy does help because you get somebody who will get you to talk about things that you also don't even know which they affect you. So I was like, so as I was talking about my issues, I separated with my husband, I moved out and I lost my job, they cut my salary, I had to go back now home and go back to him. But I didn't deal with things that were happening before until I decided to divorce. So funny story is I divorced him, but I said to him, now this divorce is, you're not going anywhere. I'm divorcing the part that me and you is not working, which is our love life, romantic life. You are a perfect husband, and I don't want to do this thing with anybody else. That's one. You know, but yes, my family, my friends didn't understand the concept. I drew a proper contract. Nobody leaves in this house. Nobody leaves. You even leave your clothes. But for me, I didn't know that I would be here today. But it helps so much because sometimes you divorce because you're going through so many things, but you don't know how to unpack. What is the issue? Is it finance? Can you come back and restructure? Is it love? Is it relationship? Come back and restructure. Is it you as an individual? But I had to
figure it out.
I told my kids I am divorcing from almost everybody, all of you, and it's 3 years now. Then I started therapy with ICAS luckily at work. I started the journey of going back to, guess what? The first time I cried and sobbed was to actually go back to the grave. That everything spiraled out of control, but actually the one thing that I didn't deal with was that one. And I was like,
it's the childhood traumas.
I don't leave. I like, you know, when you talk about your mother. I doesn't know how I feel. The kids.
I'm overwhelmed.
That was the first time. Next time, like, okay, this word, this name, and my mom and this, I don't want. Let's talk about you. Because you talk about being funny, comedy, and all that. Coping mechanisms. You start being the funniest. I started being the flight girl where you go everywhere and
you're seeing.
Just trip. Just to run away from everything else. For the first time I had to see me, for everything that I am going through, for everything that is inside that I've never talked about. Even
from the core.
I didn't even know that my parents didn't know that I was raped. That I didn't know. I assumed but we can't deal with this. And mom was like, no, I didn't know. You were now quiet as Phumzile. I thought maybe.
So what Twalisa is comeback, but they didn't know.
Then it's good to also have the conversation with your parent to say, this is what happened to me. Did you know? Because you are right when you say they were raised differently. And sometimes they don't know what they did. Mama is from 3 days. It's enough.
And we also carry some of the, unless if you break in those patterns. When you were fortunate enough that you allowed yourself to be vulnerable and to go into therapy and actually seek help. Because if that doesn't happen, you unfortunately carry these things intergenerational. So that's how it gets formed. Like you learning behaviors from your parents and your immediate family. If you don't break,
and our kids learn that, they copy literally everything.
The same. So your family of origin is very, very important. It's key. So whatever happens there shapes you to become who you are. So that's okay. So us as parents need to be extremely conscious of that. To say whatever we're doing, they see it. You might say don't, but they see it.
Bring them back to the conversation. Bring them back.
So that's a very scary one because right now our kids are very sharp. So you're raising, I'm a 2000 and they know this is what they want. As opposed to us, we had to still playing like brick games, parties. So
no, but I think they do, but they're just in a different setting.
yes,
It's just
Just in a different setting. But I think that the core values and principles, unfortunately, will always remain. Even if they could be having a similar conversation in 10 years from now, and saying, but our parents did not teach us how to hug. You know that thing. Like our parents,
it's the small things. Yes, that's what I'm trying to get to. That the fear of not interacting as much with your son. Because I've got boys, and my eldest, I actually, I get palpitations every time because you try to speak up, you try to open up. Boy, tell me about this. So he doesn't talk much. So for me, it gives me anxiety. Am I doing anything wrong? Could there be something that he's hiding? And how do I get to it? Do we go to therapy together? Or do I let him be? So,
I found I like 2 girls, one is 17, the other one is 10, and I have a 25-year-old boy who is quiet, who's doing mom fundo, who's made money. We have a better relationship, but because I also was when I was young, you know, after so I took everything from my parents were quiet, who don't know how to talk about things. But what helped with the 17-year-old in that, I started buying books that will help us have conversation. Like the first book, I think Ibe, the blesser.
Oh yes.
With girls, maybe somebody else will see this as different. But why do you give a 14-year-old such a book?
Yes.
But for me, it helped because I went through that. Cambridge. I don't know how. I couldn't tell my parents. So how would she tell me? So she went through the story of somebody else. Like, oh, this happened. Then she started asking questions from why this book? Did I read? It has my story there. That's where I started. It has my story there. Then she was interested in knowing
where is your story.
And then we started having the relationship whereby I can talk with her about anything. She's 17 now. And then my 10-year-old started, not like it was a conversation about so she was talking about her vagina being itchy.
Yeah.
And then she says, Mama, you know that. And like, oh,
To call it like
no, it's a vagina. You have ears, you know. But that also helped because I read Dr. T's book.
Yeah.
Karen, you know, these are when you have that moment, grab them there, use it to say, not ears, eyes, and all. So everything in your body, you call it by its proper name.
Yeah.
Why this one you call it, you know? I don't know. And then I joked about it. Actually, Nani at home, they used to call it inkomo.
Yeah.
But I decided inkomo yadliwa. Hey,
no, it's not a
no, it's not. So I don't want to use any other term other than what it is. So but it's a vagina.
It is what it
My
is.
vagina is easy, like you would say your eye is so, your ear. But she was uncomfortable. But I held on to that kind of funny, this company to say let me. But from now on, it's like when
it's natural.
It's natural. So I'm saying you're right to say now we have a chance to help others maybe do better than our parents and have these uncomfortable conversations first at home so that the group setting outside, if it doesn't exist, or you have friends, or there was a video, I'm not sure if you've seen it, in high school where my daughter goes, they had a viral video about I don't care about boys, I have a banana in my fridge.
Oh, I think I saw that. Yes.
Talking about my great heels and everything else. Those kind of settings, the other child might be exploring differently to the child.
Yes.
How do you bring yours back?
Yes.
It's different backgrounds.
It's different backgrounds as well.
Yeah.
So
And
how
then
do you have this platform?
You would see environment changes one's behavior because you can be teaching your child something ekhaya ngaphandle uyaphumhlangana nabanye
Society.
aba-explora uvula so
Emotionally, mentally,
nature is nature.
so it is very important for us to for us to have such conversation because people think when you're talking about mental illness ukhuluma ngomuntu osuicidal. You
Yeah.
don't understand. Umuntu ofuna ukuzibulala. Immediately when someone commits suicide, that's when we start being interested. It's depression is real. Depression, and it's more like we're thinking maybe this person is going through a depression because they've been dumb. It's not just, it's not lack, it's deep. It can be something that happened while you are 6 years when you're thinking,
and it can be
I was
something
still-
small,
yeah.
wanting your mother to say I love you.
Yes, it
Can be something very small,
Yeah.
like that.
it's this, but it starts. That's your family, but unfortunately, Corona so many of us where the structures don't exist. Or sitting down and having a conversation. Of whatever, like just a basic conversation. My boyfriend is doing something. You know, sometimes your mothers, either Rabataba, for whatever reasons, don't know, maybe because of the authoritarian style that they had, that it's me, you, and that's it. And that's it. So you can't go and say, was it today? Hey, talk to Mr.
Yo.
That's
It
right.
is what it is.
Yeah.
So it's okay for us, I keep telling you, for us who are more knowledgeable, I think it is our duty to help change the narrative of society. Because the past, yes, you want to know how do you enter the space sensitively. You can't say, come on, I will see you into a negative. There's something to the own challenge.
I think with books, I think they've helped so much.
Absolutely.
Bonnie also shared a story about she didn't realize, even her mother didn't realize that
Yes.
she had
Yes,
I did.
intergenerational.
Because even our parents actually they go through and
through a lot.
because of us.
Yes.
So we need to have this conversation and remember up and down.
down.
Remember our parents and remember our kids. And then ourselves.
Yes.
Because they also don't know.
They don't know.
They don't
And
know
I
that they've
think
been depressed for so long.
Yeah, but
They just survival mode.
Yeah,
Survival
but not
mode,
even
yeah.
that. The mental health or challenge spectrum is very wide. So it's not just depression and anxiety. Only many other conditions that we could be suffering from that we can't label. Even depression itself has got a spectrum, guys.
It's very wide,
There's
yes.
no one depression, or because a person is down does not mean that they're depressed. And the people who commit suicide, it's actually anxiety more than depression. Like, remember, when you're depressed, you can't move. So how are you gonna?
There's so much that we don't know.
That you don't know. There's a and I think it's time for experts
Yes.
to start coming on board and
Yes.
helping to impart the knowledge.
Yes.
We're going to impart the knowledge because we are bastardizing a whole lot of things, and it might be causing more damage than good.
Than good. True.
So for them, it's to open up, it's to start, it's to, I mean, we had Dr. Cindy, unfortunately she's passed away, but it was a step in the right direction of opening up a space, obviously within the boundaries, but teaching, impacting, helping.
Touching lives.
I think we should go back to the communal system of
Yes,
guys
I agree.
Can we help broader and not stay in our
Little
cocoons, saying that you like staying in a really small cocoons of ours.
And we're going back into the cooking based on COVID. Now we are told to stay home more, not socialize as much as we used to. And it's now dangerous because now you keep to yourself, you keep to your own home. And I think
Now you're
that's
open
what
one or
happens.
you're stuck with.
I think this going virtual sharing will also help others to, you can still have conversations virtually. Don't sit at home, follow people who talk about these things to get more information.
Absolutely.
Follow certain experts, because they will be able to articulate stuff that we can't. We can start conversations.
Also, in the journal, if I know with many people, and I always say this, that if we start learning how to communicate, it's the small things. I'm running late, it starts from that, because you don't want to say you're running late because you don't want to disappoint Phumzile, you know, because she's gonna think you're always late. But it's the small things, and it becomes habitat that it's okay to be late, or it's okay not to communicate. So there's different platforms of communicating as well. So if you can't say it, or if you can't tell someone about it, write it down, you know, and always go back and like it you don't have to be like Shakespeare, you know.
Yes.
But I think it's just how we pour our feelings, and I go back to the things that I used to write when I was growing up, and
My.
yeah, like looking back, like, did I write this?
Yeah.
But it brings back what you've gone through as well, you know. So you're like, oh,
And how far
I've
you've
gone
come.
through so much, and this is where I am right now, you know. At some point you don't love yourself, but people love you so much because you're supposed to be that girl that is always out there, you know. And if you're that loud girl and that's flamboyant and it's just a happy soul, people don't sit and say, are you okay? So how's your love life? So how's the kids? But it's just in passing, you know. So
Even
as you
Even your professional life and career.
yeah, no one would say, so how far are you with your radio stuff? How far with you doing your monologues if you're into theater or whatever the case may be? So it's always, low right.
Yeah. If I may ask for me, because you went through depression and diagnosed and all that, was there a point where you thought, which is something you are just bringing a spanner in the works, where hey, make those. You know, the mental health now, people, there's also this new element where abantu abadala or in general, mawuqala ungazizwa kahle or ukhuluma uyi-one.
So true.
Hayi mhlambe ama ancestor
no, but kithi bonke abantu benze ukuthi abantu bomoya. But for me it wasn't that case with the underground gang.
And no one suggested it for you.
And no one suggested, yeah.
No one. Because
that's another important
like my mom, namanje, but she is
Uyazama
kancane ukuthi understand. My mom then beyanga understand ukuthi what is happening. Umuntu uyalala, uyaphuma, sibikohlangana nomuntu ngathi kusemahlangeni lapho besiye khona Phumzile. Hey, okay, wathetha wakhala, and then like she would ask me later when I'm so and say like maybe after go to Phumzile, Phumzile, what were we doing? Yes, ngibonile bowulila and athetha like why bongathetha like ezinye izinto bengiza but why? Because I need to use therapy like it has a way. It has a way nje like uzositshela ukuthi isilonda siphinda siyaphola yabona, and then sibafika ne-surgical spirit sisakhona bese usuke lobu pinki lobu bese uyabona le manje ukuthi yazini this is I need to face this ukuthi umama uhleli lana kanjani. I just need to be open as well. So she didn't understand it, but now I think because we are going to okay, I'm becoming this. Because what happened with me is I moved out. I need to Orlando, and then when I figure Orlando, things started happening. We have like a lot of things like work, relationships. I have to pay rent. I have to. My mom, like a lot. Then when I went back to her, she did not understand me. Honestly, at the back of my mind, I am thinking, no strong.
Doing well.
Yeah,
but you see, I wonder what it goes back to survival.
And then I learned there. That's when I learned sometimes the environment is good at survival, and then we become codependent. Someone must approve of such behavior.
Yeah.
Somebody. You worry about things that are not true. It's so important. And
how
then
you look,
neglect
what you dress,
and then
do you have the right lipstick on? Are you smiling in the right trend?
I can we are stressing about different things right now. Which the basics are taken care of, guys. So we have to appreciate our parents to an extent, honestly. For the shelter, got shelter. We got food.
Yes.
Clothes. Security clothes.
But you dressed
Depression into a fridge. They don't understand.
From where you are, in the space Oguso, touching on how mental health issues, how then they affect your physical, your body. Now you are a wife, you are a partner, and all that, and then everything shuts down. Do you get to a point whereby you find people coming, not knowing that they're going through something else? It's not like their libido is down based because of mental health issues.
Yeah, diagnosis obviously can't.
I know,
But only things where you can tell. But it's more relational.
Okay.
Relational as in there's something wrong with the relationship. But even that, there's many layers to it. Yeah, but as I said, it probably goes back to individual and what's happening within your core. Right? Then you do shut down. But remember also we were taught not to be expressive in terms of your sexuality. Patriarchy. That's what I'm saying. These systems are very entrenched, guys. Or there is that females. It's only now that it's starting to be bold. As far as you know, freedom of expression is so democracy, all of these things, but previously suppressed, and we still to an extent carrying them. But the sex still remains about the guy's pleasure.
True. And the toys is like, why are you trying to replace this? Now I've got the magic stick. So why are you bringing a dildo into all of this? Why are you bringing Kegel balls? Why are you bringing all these vibrators?
Are you not enough? Am I not satisfying you?
So
what I'm trying to tell you.
So you see, so there are those, and there are unfortunately still a lot of women who are exposed to that, whether we like it or not. It's the reality. So the sex is still very male dominated. Limo, look here. Design was supposed to be pink, right? Again, we thought it designing for a feminine market, but it's the inverse. That we're actually servicing more men as opposed to females.
Wow.
Which
that's
is
great.
But it speaks to how we are interpreting
in our own shell.
How we are taking
Gender balance is still
it's still an issue. But it's still an issue. And what do guys want to last longer? They want a bigger thing. They've got their own pressures, guys. Let's not discuss them. They do have their own pressures.
Guys,
yes. But they also have got pressure to perform. So the pressure to perform might be based on, I want my manhood to be bigger. I want to go for many rounds, which is like, okay, let's look at age, let's look at health, how physically, so there's many things, but they also have a pressure to perform. So it's there, but I think for females, they still need a stronger feminine voice to come into the space. It's like you are now. It's not about and it ends once they have come and then that's it. So there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in that space.
Because with women also, I think that how we were brought up, when it comes to a bedroom life, we restrict ourselves.
It's the conversations that are never
because now,
because
I've kunomunye bekangitshela khulula that one athi it's like if you cheat kanjani. And then someone inboxed me and said, "Hey Phumzile, you can't be. You can't be what? This is normal. This is you. You must know you first.
True.
You can't be expecting the next person to utakufikise lapho ofuna ukufika khona. Whether you must lead the person and you must be open to it.
But it's things that you're never talking about. Like you said, it's about when you get married. Okay, you must stay a virgin until you get married.
And whose virginity is this as well? I have a very big problem with that. But it's a conversation for another day.
You're a prized possession.
Yes.
If you can get how many cows, however many cows it is. No, actually there's a virginity.
Imagine.
And then after that, you're going into a dead zone of you are supposed to bear kids. That's your purpose again, to bear kids. And
I'm not saying much.
Yeah.
You must
This
just
is
fill
similar.
in and you must take it.
differently. But I mean, right now we are in an urban setting.
Sure.
You are exposed differently. You are able to read. You are able to go on the internet. You are able to engage differently. And then this is unfortunately not the reality for the majority.
Yeah.
And the
Sense
majority.
have to find everything about
Yes.
you.
That's we are in an urban setting, guys. Urban. There's a massive difference between us and an urban setting, and just drive 50 kilometers here outside of Johannesburg and see how the landscape changes and what those women are actually exposed to and going through. So for us, we should come
Maybe
to
we must
some
also do a campaign or something like that. To
of what
go outside our comfort and try to reach out and hear people's conversations or thoughts, like women especially on when it comes to owning your sexuality, owning umzimba wako,
Your being, your
yes,
being, mental,
yes,
emotional,
like
sexual,
everything
your
being
whole
synced.
being.
Yeah.
We must take it to the road. So
yeah, you should. But then with the obviously we should. It's a very nice thing, né? And obviously sensitively, yes. And that's going to take into account those people's environments. And you can't whether you do what you do and then Mrs. sleeps with them and then you leaving them happy to.
I love Salali Abednego.
Yeah. Well, Abednego has not had a conversation with anyone. Eh? Oh, he came. Then he dropped. Eh? But
Like
Abednego is still Abednego. Then you're sending that same person back to that environment.
Oh,
True.
And
But
then-
I'm hoping over to this space that we have created, it will bring more to speak about it, because they are also going through the same things that we are going through.
yes.
But now the thing is, in this ever triple
That's the sad part.
they go
But
through a lot as well. Yeah, but and
That's why we must
why
bring
you
the two
find
genders
about
together. Because we can have conversations every day, all day. Women have been having conversations about so many different things, from gender-based violence, from how to take care of a home, from we watch the cooking shows, you watch the DIY projects, you know. So the woman is always like the forefront, as much as the male dominance is there, but you go ahead and do everything. If you're planning for your wedding, baby, go ahead and do everything. Yes, I'll just come with my paycheck to Kapatala. So don't come and bother me about color, or which color should be balanced, which serviette do you want to
After
use.
the big, beautiful wedding and what but it's suspended.
Yeah.
They don't know how you got there.
Yeah.
They don't know how you got there because of all the pressures.
So
I think the pressure is
it's a lot. That's what I'm saying. The two worlds need to come together at the end of the day, and we have open and honest relationships with male as well to say, okay, take us through your journey as a man, you know, because with women as well, we expect so much from them because probably something is lacking from us. Driving a certain car, but I can't even afford that to save my life. So poor John has to go out there and hustle and whatnot, just so that otherwise the space So can both worlds come together and we have conversations, honest conversations to say, ladies, let's try this. How about we do this? Because for us, we're trying to reach people milestone at a time, but overall conversations are needed.
Thank you. This is a beautiful space to talk about almost everything.
Yeah.
Yoga, mental, because everything starts with your mind.
Yes, mind over matter.
Everything that spirals from there, which is like really I applaud that for doing what you're doing. And continue to have more conversations and get other people to join in, because it's sure your own story, because people, if they can tell you their stories, you can learn so much. You would know that actually you're not on your own. Other people are, there's no worse or better, but you would find stories that you know can get you like, you know, let me get up.
Mind change as well.
You know,
Yes.
mind changing. So this is thank you so much. I think this was
absolutely
beautiful, such a pleasure.
Yeah,
No,
that's something. It's a great and massive start. It can only get better from here on.
True.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think with, like you were saying, Phumzile, everything starts with the mind. Like everything is your mental. From when you wake up in the morning, you choose you want to be happy. You choose the type of day that you're going to have. So I think let's not forget mental health with all the other segments that we'll be having. I think we must always touch base on that as well, as our core foundation. Yes. Like you were saying, yes. Let's just check in and see, and probably like you were saying, to bring in the experts as well, so that we can be able to say, how can we help the next person without having them to pay 7,000 Rand for a session? You know, how do we make a living space for the next person? How do we touch someone's life and change someone's life? Because I think that's the broader picture of everything else that we're trying to do. So
Yeah. Or to many more.
To many more, indeed.